Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be doing something a tiny bit different. We are still going to be ranking characters, but now we're going to be ranking characters for Matthew Mercer because I feel he deserves it. So I'm going to be giving my top 4 favorite villains from across Critical Role. Why 4? Because when I did the rankings for the other characters, I maxed out at 4 characters because most of them didn't have more than 4. So I felt like making it fair and only putting 4 villains in here for Matt. Maybe one day I'll do a whole list of all of the villains, but some are super minor, some aren't. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. And at number 4, we have the leader of the Iron Shepherds, Lorenzo. He is an Oni, and he is the most minor villain on this list. Minor depending on who you talk to, because he has one of the most impressive trickle effects on the entire series. He is best known for 2 things. 1, kidnapping Yasha, Jester, and Ford, and because of that, he's also best known for killing Mollymauk. This character has an insane trickle effect from basically those 2 things. 1 being kidnapping, which led to the murder, which led to adding Caduceus to the team, which led to a million changes the party went through. The party changed so much after the introduction of Caduceus, and this character is the reason that happens. And the image of him eating the bones of a child will never leave my head. The epic fight to free the friends will never leave my head. The introduction to Caduceus is something that's always going to be one of the most memorable parts of the campaign for me, and it's all because of Lorenzo. The fight with Molly, or the Fabulous Four, as they were calling themselves at the time, is one of my favorite fights in the entire campaign because the stakes are so high. It's at an early point in the campaign where death was still very much a possibility, especially when one of your clerics, or the only cleric at the time, was locked up. This character attacked at the right time and did incredible damage that was, irreversible at the time. And it was one of the most impressive, and he has one of the most insane effects on all of Critical Role. And because of that, he's my number 4 favorite villain in Critical Role. And it was around this point where I truly fell in love with Critical Role. So this character has a big part of that because of how, important his actions were. And this is a sign of a good villain who can only be around for, I think he only has 3 episodes that he's actually in, and he's left this much of an impact. I think that should be enough for him to be this high. At number 3, we have Trent Ichathon. Fuck Trent Ichathon. This guy is a master manipulator, and that is probably one of the reasons I've thought about him so much, because, first of all, he was technically the final villain of Campaign 2, which is pretty important, but he was so deeply connected to Caleb and his backstory that he was kind of present the whole time. For a while, Caleb believed that Trent Ichathon, or was led to believe that Trent Ichathon was the reason he did everything he's been doing. Or at least Trent Ichathon tried to make him believe this. And it was really interesting. Everything that Caleb had done for a small period of time was mildly believed to have been because Trent Ichathon wanted him to do these things. And that's awesome. That's a character that's instantly hateable. You hate him and you love to hate him because he is hateable. And all of the layers that he has with Caleb's backstory, making him kill his parents, and then kind of driving him to insanity, making him, spend weeks in torture, becoming basically an assassin wizard, doing what he did to both Aedwulf and to Astrid and to Caleb, set up a lot of things that Caleb did throughout the campaign. This character's importance to another character, being Caleb, is really one of the driving factors that he was so interesting to me personally, because he was one of the characters I wanted to be dealt with so badly. It was so important for me to see this character go down in some way, shape, or form that it was possibly my favorite moment of Campaign 2, because seeing him get his comeuppance was so nice. The fact that he doesn't die in the end and has to sit there never being able to cast magic, never being able to speak, manipulate anybody is perfect. But what makes him so good is because he doesn't just affect characters like Caleb. One of the best interactions ever with Trent Ichathon is between him and Caduceus, where Caduceus puts him in his place in a vicious verbal smackdown, and it was by the most relaxing way possible. And it was one of the nicest way he could have ever slapped him down by saying, I hope you find someone who will miss you when you're gone. That is fucked. He has one of my favorite verbal altercations in all the series connected to him, with that one being Caduceus, and a very deep connection to one of the player characters, making him instantly, memorable. And I really do think there's a lot more to him, but I think I don't want to spoil everything. So, moving on to the next one. At number 2, we have a duo, Delilah and Silas Briarwood. Now, there's a little bit more context than just me liking the characters, but they also have a deep connection to another player character, that being Percy, who was one of my favorite characters in Campaign 1. So, not a big shocker, I like him. And everything they did to Whitestone, everything they've done to Percy and his family, made them despicable, vile, instantly hateable characters. And seeing them lose eventually was nice, but then they come back with their connections to Vecna, and their deep roots to Critical Role and its success is truly memorable. And I really enjoy these characters for many reasons because of that. Because without them, I truly don't think Campaign 1 would have gotten very far. So a little bit more context to my like of them. 1, I watched Campaign 2 first, and then moved on to Campaign 1 once I caught up. I caught up with Campaign 1 just before they came back from the COVID break. Sorry, I caught up with Campaign 2 just before they came back from the COVID break, and started watching Campaign 1 right after that. And the first 25 episodes are rough for a lot of reasons. There's a Red Dragonborn and that player, and there are a ton of quality of life issues with the early parts of Campaign 1, like the stream being kind of rough, the audio being kind of rough. Every once in a while, one of the cameras would freeze. Small things like that. But around episode 24, I believe, first of all, they get rid of a certain Red Dragonborn. Second of all, they introduce Delilah Briarwood and Silas Briarwood, and we start the Briarwood arc, and it is one of the best arcs in Critical Role. It is simply amazing. It is zombies, vampires, connections to Vecna, all of these cool betrayals of a family. All of this doesn't happen without the characters, and those characters are really fun. And you know what? Even to a point where you could be like, I really like those characters, even though they're despicable and vile and hateable, you also really like them because they're fun to watch. And when Matt DMs as them and plays as them, you're fucking intrigued by them and what they are. And their backstory is really fun. Not going to spoil that, I don't think. But really fun backstories, really fun connections to the players. And they're basically the reason Critical Role is still around today. And for that, and all the other reasons I've said, these guys have to be number 2. And they're a strong contender for number 1. But number 1 for me is firmly sat at number 1 and will probably stay there. And at number 1 is Lucian. Do I need to say any more? Lucian is literally the best villain for a million reasons. 1, he's formally a player character, or at least visually formally a player character. He has connections to all sorts of weird lore bits that I really love. He makes up a good section of the Aor arc. Like, he's literally there with the players for a portion of time where they will they won't they cat and mouse sort of game, and it's really fucking fun. And his group of the Tomb Takers is really fun. The introduction to how this character comes into the campaign is set up literally 100 episodes before. It's insane how fun this character is, how intriguing this character is, the connections to lore, like I said earlier, and what it means for the players to go up against someone who they literally fought with for a period of time, and to not even want to kill him. They didn't want to kill Lucian. They wanted to get their friend Molly back. And that is another portion of what makes Lucian so good, because he was able to play on that, and that's how he got the cat and mouse game to happen a little bit. every time someone would try to speak to him, they were trying to speak to Molly. They were trying to reach to Molly, see if Molly was still in there, and he knew this and would play off it and would just make you hate him that much more. And he was really entertaining to watch. His tomb takers, when they started dropping on him, he didn't lose composure, even though he probably was kind of freaking out on the inside, thinking he was going to lose, because this whole time he was like, there's no way I'm going to lose. I have the upper hand on these idiots, and there's no possible way for me to lose. That is the cocky attitude that he invoked, and when he eventually won, he thought he had everything under control. He was putting eyes on people, and as they would slowly gain more and more eyes, he would eventually get full control over them, and was going to win. Luckily, they pulled it out in the end. And another one of my favorite moments comes at the end of Lucian's life as Caduceus tries to bring back Molly. And it's an awesome, fun moment. And this character is the literal reason that I don't think there will be another villain to ever live up to it. So, yeah. Amazing character, amazing villain, and you never really truly hated him, because you always thought Molly was still going to be inside. Fun character, fun concept, and a part of me wishes we got to see the other concept of the character that Matt talked about, but unfortunately we didn't. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the campaign wrap-up, where he will explain a little bit more about the possibilities that came with Molly Mock being in the group, and how they all shattered once he died. So, yeah, that was cool. Molly Mock, Lucian, number 1. And there you have it, my top 4 villains by Matthew Mercer. Didn't really bring up Matthew Mercer playing them too much, but it's, not hard to realize that these characters have to be Matt. So, anyway, no Campaign 3 villains yet, because they're kind of still getting placed around. They're on the war map getting placed by Matt, and eventually I do think the Nightmare King, if he ever makes a return, and Otohan could be massive villains and could jump up these ranks and eventually become number 4 or 3. I don't think number 2 or 1 are ever going to get moved, because those 2 characters really, to me, 3 characters really, to me, solidify Campaign 1 and Campaign 2 respectively, and made me appreciate Campaign 1 and 2 a million times more than I had until they showed up. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say beyond that. So I'm not going to say anything else. See ya.